dislocated worker request for proposal bidders conference. We're so happy that you're here today with us. My name is Latoya Rita J, and I'm the Interim Assistant Director at the Alameda County Workforce Development Board. And I'm joined in this effort by Jennifer Vitorica, who I'll let introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Vitorica, and I am the Program Financial Specialist overseeing the Adult and Dislocated Worker programs.
Thank you, Jennifer. So in today's Bidders Conference, we will be providing you an overview of WIOA and the Workforce Development Board here in Alameda County before diving into the specifics of the RFP. We will take questions, and we will also provide 30 minutes towards the end for networking. So if you all want to connect after we go through the first 60 minutes of this presentation, we will allow for a breakout room session for you all to have a conversation and possibly network or partner. So in the next slide, and the next slide as well, just a few housekeeping rules here. So please remain muted throughout the presentation. And if you haven't done so already, enter your name, your organization, email address in the chat. We're also accepting questions through the chat because we want to make sure that we are accurately capturing your question. So please, if you have questions, enter them in the chat, and we also will allow for you to come off mute at the end to vocalize the question in the chat. And then this process will also allow for additional questions to be submitted through December 6th, and we'd like to have those questions by 5 p.m. on the 6th. So I did want to tell you all a little bit, some background information about, our program and the WIOA, generally speaking. The federal WIOA Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act Title I program is funded through the Department of Labor through the Employment and Training Administration Division. We are responsible for WIOA Title I, but there are also 3 additional titles under WIOA, which includes Title II, overseen by the adult schools, Title III, overseen by the Employment Development Department to address the needs of dislocated workers, and then Title IV, overseen by the Department of Rehabilitation to address the needs of the vocational rehabilitation needs of people with disabilities. So that funding is passed through the state of California, through the EDD department, out to the local areas. There are 45 boards in the state. We oversee the programming under WIOA Title I for Alameda County outside the city of Oakland. So the county does have 2 boards, and then in the East Bay, there are 4 boards. In the immediate East Bay region, which includes also the City of Richmond and Contra Costa County Workforce Development Board. Collectively, we serve as East Bay Works, and we also, the state also designated the region to work as a regional planning unit. And so as an RPU, we engage in joint projects together that have regional scale or regional impact. So we've been working as a region for a pretty long time, since 1998. Just a little bit more information about WIOA. Alameda County, so we're designated through the state. We are responsible for establishing the services through frontline service providers to equip adults, dislocated workers, in school and out of school youth with career readiness, career placement, skills training, and other post-secondary options. And so we're currently in the last year of a 4-year cycle. And the reason why we have launched this new slate of RFPs to get ready for the upcoming 4-year period, which would be 2025 through 2029. WIOA was reauthorized in 2014 to provide employers with a skilled workforce. It also provides, as I kind of alluded to, access to job seekers for occupational skills training, along with other career services, workshops, case management, and more. WIOA also provides employers with access to the OJT program, which provides an offset to employers in up to the amount of $5,000 when they identify someone from our system to onboard in their hiring process. And then we also, through WIOA, are able to provide incumbent worker training dollars as well as an offset to the employers when they invest, and then we help to invest, co-invest in upskilling their incumbent workforce. And then customized training is also part of that, where it could be a mix of newly onboarded or incumbent worker, but we work with the employer to customize the training, and then we support the cost of that training for employers. So we, under WIOA, we do have at least a dual customer. Next slide. And so with that, I will turn it over to Jennifer to go over the RFP specifics.
So our programs span, like Latoya said, the different areas in Alameda County outside of Oakland. So just going over the geographic area and the cities that are included in each of the subregions. So you'll see them listed here, and it also would include the unincorporated areas of each area. And so we have 3 requests for proposals this time around. One of them is the Comprehensive America's Job Center of California. And so the awardee would serve as the AJCC operator and career service provider. We also have the Subregional Career Service Provider RFP, and these services would be specific to each of those subregions that you saw in the last slide, to also provide services to job seekers and employers. And the third is the Targeted CSP, or Career Service Provider. And these services would be specific to a target population or multiple populations with strategic partnerships in place to serve that particular population. And oh, sorry, next slide. As part of all of these RFPs, we do expect the career services listed here to be provided by all the providers. So the first being the eligibility. So under WIOA, there are specific eligibility criteria, and all of these policies can be found on our website. Also, it would include comprehensive case management, which is the objective assessment and the individual employment plan for each of the participants. And through this, you identify skills and interests of each participant, and also find where the participant will need supportive services and referrals to other external partners. Through these programs, we also would need access to training for each of the participants, and this training would be connected to the Industry Sector Occupational Framework, or the ISOF, which is the leading industries in our area. And we also envision that it would be connected to a career pathway. So you would start a participant in a training that then would lead them to other opportunities in their career. And also these trainings would all be tied to or result in an industry recognized credential. After the training, we envision it would lead to employment, and this would also require employer partnerships to be in place, and those employers should be aligned with the ISOF as well, and lead to retention within those jobs and industry. And also, after the participant goes through the program, it does require follow-up for 12 months after the program ends. So at least once a quarter after the participant ends, and if they need to be connected to services and referrals through that time, that support would be provided. So I'll go ahead and go through each of the RFPs in a little bit more detail. So the comprehensive AJCC will be selecting one provider, and up to $697,000 will be available for that contract. The location of this provider would be at the AJCC office. That's at 24100 Amador Street on the 3rd floor. Or another Eden area location can be used if it's appropriate under the needs of the AJCC. So the AJCC operator would be responsible for the service delivery, and also they would be coordinating the network and partners that's included in the Memorandum of Understanding, and so that it would include the mandated partners under WIOA. And throughout the process, they'll also need to be certified as a AJCC and participate in the continuous improvement plan, which identifies different goals that the AJCC should strive toward to continually improve and better serve participants. And through this, they'll also have access to special projects through the ACWDB, which might provide discretionary funding for different projects and programming. And the sub-regional CSP will be serving the remaining areas. So the Eden AJCC will cover the Eden area, and we still have the North Cities, the Tri-Valley, and the Tri-Cities. So we'll be choosing a provider for each of the listed subregions, and the funding is dependent on which subregion. So you'll see the amounts listed here for each of the subregions. And the services for the subregional career services provider will include on-the-ground outreach and meeting job seekers where they are. So this would mean you're not tied to a center location, but you're out in the community, you're engaging with folks, you're making sure that you're remaining accessible and available throughout the community that you're serving. And that would include also the employer partners who should be engaged with what the career service provider is doing, understand the population and the subregion, and forming a network in that particular subregion. And the same goes for the community organizations, which should be aware of what the career services provider is doing and how they can complement the services provided through the entity to better serve each of the clients. Then we have the targeted CSP. So this is a new concept that we're trying out, and we really want to see work out. We will be funding up to 3 providers, and each of them will be granted up to $175,000. And our focus on this is to serve a particular population that the bidder can demonstrate that there's a need, and we envision the bidder to have already partner services and other support systems to complement the WIOA services that will be delivered through this RFP, to really serve the needs of this particular population. And so that we also expect that there's research done and proof that this particular population requires these additional supports, and the ways that your services will work together to really serve the population. And a big part of this also are the employer partners, to really understand the needs of the particular population that you're serving, and that you're really building that network together with the employers and the different partners to particularly respond to the needs of this population. All right. And then this would be for all of the RFPs. We do use a results-based accountability RBA framework to measure how well our programs are doing. And so the different goals that we set in place answer the 3 questions: how much did we do, how well did we do, and is anyone better off? So those that will be in place through the contracts of these RFPs, and it'll help determine the performance goals. There's also a big data management component to this service. We use CalJobs as the mandated system where all of the information is captured, capturing the services that are being provided, the goal attainments, the supportive services that are provided, the different things. So that would be the data component. And we also ask for narrative reports. So this is monthly information, kind of more qualitative information about what's going on, telling the story behind the services and not just the numbers that might be listed or found on CalJobs. With that said, if it's not in CalJobs, it didn't happen. So we do have to report back to the state, and the state uses the CalJobs system to track all of the information. So all of the information and services has to be in the system for us to be able to show that the services were provided by each of the providers. Okay, and as far as the eligible organizations and qualifications, so we have listed here the different organizations that would be eligible. And something that is new this time around for any of those that have done this before is the requirement for the SLEB program. So the SLEB program, the Small Local Emerging Business Program, is an Alameda County program, which attempts to focus on smaller local emerging business to do work with the Alameda County. And so this would mean that we do want to know if you're a local business or if you are certified as a SLEB program. Nonprofits, public schools, universities, and government agencies are exempt from the SLEB participation requirement, meaning that you would still be eligible to bid, and you would not be required to subcontract with a SLEB participating entity. Local entities may be eligible for 5% bid preference, and entities that are certified on SLEB at the time of the bid may be eligible for an additional 5% bid preference with a maximum of 10% bid preference. So more information can be found on the AC.gov website for SLEB, or you can contact the number directly with any questions about this program. And here you'll see the RFP timeline. So we'll do our best to stick to these dates. And you'll see we're meeting today for the virtual information sessions. Any questions that come after this session can be sent to our ACWDB email address. Any of those questions should be sent in by 5 p.m. on December 6th, which is this Friday. And we'll be releasing an addendum with all the Q&A documentation December 13th. And then proposals are due January 6th by 5 p.m. We ask that you send over the PDF version of all of the documents to our ACWDB email address by 5 p.m. again. And then also following that, we ask that you submit 3 hard copies by January 13th, 2025, delivered by a certified priority mail to our office. We also will accept one full proposal as long as we have 3 wet ink copies of the signature pages. So any of the signatures should be in blue ink and included in those hard copies. This process will also include an interview portion. So we will be setting up interviews to speak with each of the bidders to get to know a little bit more about the program. And we will look to announce the award from February to April of 2025. And all contracts will start by July 1st, 2025. This is a bit more detail on the submission of the proposals, including the formatting of each of the pages. And each of the, if you look on the checklist that's included in the response package, it'll indicate where there's a page limitation. So be sure to be mindful about that. And as well of the required documents, which can be found on that checklist in the response packet, where it lists all of the documents that you should send as part of the full proposal, including the cover letter, the SLEB information page, and all of the documents that require signature, which are enclosed. When you send in the proposal through PDF to our email address, we do ask that you include the subject line as ADW RFP, and then go ahead and include the name of the RFP that you are applying for. And the deadline again is no later than 5 p.m. on January 6, 2025. And following that, the 3 hard copies to be sent via priority certified mail to arrive by our office by January 13th, 2025.